You step into a crowded elevator. The doors close. A stranger stands beside you, says nothing, and somehow, before a single word is exchanged, you already have a feeling about them. Safe or not, friendly or not, you didn't choose this feeling. It arrived on its own, faster than thought, built entirely from a face you'd never seen before in your life. This happens to you dozens of times a day. A new coworker, a waiter, someone walking towards you on an empty street at night. Your brain renders a verdict in a fraction of a second, long before logic gets a vote. You call it intuition, but it's older than that word, far older. Your ancestors didn't have resumes. They didn't have background checks or social media profiles. When a stranger approached their fire, the only information available was a face, a posture, a pair of eyes. And the decision that followed wasn't casual. It was survival. Trust the wrong person, and you could lose your food, your shelter, your life. Distrust the right person, and you could lose an ally, a mate, a chance at a better future. The stakes were never small. So evolution did what it always does. It built a shortcut. Psychologist Alexander Todorov spent years studying exactly how fast this shortcut fires. In his research at Princeton, he showed people unfamiliar faces for just 1/10 of a second. 1/10, less time than a single blink. And still, participants formed confident judgments about trustworthiness, competence, and likability. Give them more time, even several seconds, and their snap judgments barely changed. The verdict was already in. The extra time only added false confidence, not accuracy. Here's the part that should unsettle you. Todorov's work found that these judgments aren't based on anything real. They're based on resemblance. A stranger's face might subtly echo someone from your past who once hurt you, or helped you, or simply looked a certain way when you were a child forming your first ideas of who is safe. Your brain doesn't know the difference between the actual person in front of you and the ghost of someone else entirely. It just pattern matches and moves on. Why does this happen so fast? Because the structure responsible sits deep in your brain, almost untouched by conscious reasoning. It's called the amygdala, and you can think of it as your brain's smoke detector. It doesn't analyze. It doesn't deliberate. It reacts. Neuroscientist Ralph Adolphs documented this in patients with amygdala damage. They lost the ability to judge trustworthiness from faces altogether, not because they became kinder or more naive, because the entire system that generates that gut feeling had gone dark. Without it, every face looked equally unreadable, equally blank. So your brain is running ancient software on modern hardware. Software designed for tribes of a few dozen people, all known by name, all judged through years of shared history. Now you live in cities of millions, surrounded by strangers every single day. And that software still fires exactly the same way. Instantly, confidently, and often completely wrong. Consider what your face is actually doing while this is happening to you. While you're judging someone else in 1/10 of a second, they're doing the exact same thing to you. Researcher Nalini Ambadi demonstrated this with what she called the 10-second slice. Strangers shown a silent 10-second clip of a teacher could predict that teacher's end-of-semester evaluations with startling accuracy. 10 seconds, no words, just posture, expression, the geometry of a face in motion. We are constantly broadcasting information we never intended to send, and constantly receiving signals we never consciously decode. What exactly are we reading? Researchers have identified a handful of features that drive first impressions more than any others. Wide eyes and raised eyebrows signal warmth because they resemble the universal expression of surprise and openness. A strong jawline signals competence, an ancient holdover from judging physical formidability. Symmetry signals health, because asymmetry once correlated with illness or injury during development. None of these features tell you anything reliable about a stranger's actual character. They tell you about bone structure, about genetics, about nothing you can control, and yet you trust them anyway. Studies on political elections have found that voters can predict the winner of a race with surprising accuracy just by looking at two unfamiliar candidate faces and judging which one looks more competent. No policy, no speech, just structure. This is unsettling not because it proves people are shallow, but because it proves how little control any of us have over the verdicts we render and receive.